fact, many of this country's most notorious serial killers did most of their killing very close to their homes. Dennis BTK Rader killed 10 people, all of them in or near his hometown of Wichita, Kansas. John Wayne Gacy and Jeffrey Dahmer famously killed most of their victims inside their homes and kept most of their bodies inside their houses too. But homicide experts say there are serial killers literally everywhere in the country, and they do not all stay put. Listen to this FBI analyst on what they found from a high-altitude look at unsolved murders across the country.
We started noticing within our database a number of bodies along the side of the road. Victims kept coming up as prostitutes, specifically truck stop prostitutes, and one after another our main suspects or confirmed offenders were identified as truck drivers. And so putting those pieces together, we started to say something's going on. We have an inordinate number of victims and offenders from this rather specific pool of the population. So what's going on here? What are we missing?
750 homicide victims found along America's highways, 750 victims, and that's in less than 20 years. Now, let's make something clear. The FBI is not saying that all truck drivers are serial killers or that serial killers are truck drivers. In fact, they go to lengths to say that the truck driving community is honorable and necessary profession. And oftentimes it actually is truck drivers. I've done these stories who report the suspicious behavior. They're really big in stopping human trafficking. They're the eyes out on the road. So this is not a dig on most truck drivers. But let's see that map again. You see here, FBI experts say this shows a pattern of victims and possible suspects that is unmistakable. There are so many bodies and so many possible suspects that the FBI created a special unit called the Highway Serial Killings Initiative. And the bottom line is somebody is killing people along America's roads and interstates, and those murderers are on the move. I want to bring in Judge Maryclaire Akers. She sits on the 13th Judicial Circuit in West Virginia. She's a former prosecutor who focused on violent crimes and homicides. Thank you for being with us, Judge. It's interesting, like this doesn't seem to get a lot of attention. The cluster serial killings are obviously the ones that make the headlines, but I didn't even realize that there were so many of these deaths along the highways.
We've known that for a long time, actually, in the law enforcement community, that is. And in my former career as a prosecutor, we saw that quite a bit. Here locally, I'm in Charleston, West Virginia. We've had several cases where we find victims by the side of the road, or in high traffic areas where there are a lot of people and a lot of movement.
And that FBI analyst mentioned the sex workers component. Is that why you think these don't get as much coverage? Because people just sort of write off the women if they're sex workers?
I don't think that's completely it. I think that a lot of times sex workers aren't honest with people that are close to them about what they're doing. So it may be a while before people know that they're missing. And it may be that a family member reports someone missing and it's just one person. So there are limited resources for finding just one person. It's when clusters of people start to appear deceased that have been murdered in similar or the same patterns when people start getting interested. And focus starts coming in from all over the place because people are so interested in serial killers. I can't figure that out, but that's what people really get interested in. And that will draw resources and manpower and things that investigators need to really get these cases solved.
I would think that with all of the cameras now, the highway cameras and the red light cameras and people having dash cameras and police having cameras and everybody's got a camera, like I would think that would really help with these problems on the highways involving the murders. I mean, is that helping to solve more of them?
I think what we saw in the past is there are a lot of cameras. A lot of cameras are not high quality, though. A lot of cameras are not going to catch the characteristics of someone's face. I think that also there's a massive amount of information now. It isn't just a truck stop camera. It's a truck stop camera and 5 houses next to it that might have Ring cameras. It's difficult to line up times, when people were there, who all of the people were, and what the timeline was when they were there. I think, it's easier to tell, I guess, how many people were there, but I think really honing it down is still difficult for investigators.
Yeah, that makes sense. You'd think that it's better because there's so many cameras, but then that just creates even more information to dig through. And you're right. I mean, you can't see people's faces necessarily on the highway. Judge Maryclaire Akers, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.